Plenty. It'll be a bunch of them.
Fucking yeah.
Right? It'll be a bunch of them. I got the timer set up. We're ready to go. We done took all the labels off of shit, so we don't get no branding from motherfuckers we don't want to brand with. That's just how it rolls.
Yeah, we ain't out here giving out your
All right,
free fucking. Nobody giving us shit free.
Ain't nobody giving us shit free. What's going on? It's Cowboy here, one half of the Ignorant Nerds.
Along with Chuck, the other half of the Ignorant Nerds.
Welcome back to episode 3. So in episode 3, we are basically going to go through some things about coming back into the range. So we did episode 1, the first purchase.
Yeah, we did the second episode. You got your firearm.
Got home, right? Okay.
Now, you got your firearm home. You did all your due diligence, watched some videos, got familiar with the firearm, lubricated it. Now you're taking your first trip to the range. So today's episode is about you taking your first trip to the range and how we can help circumvent that process to make it as smooth as possible.
Okay, so real quick, we want to get into it because we want to try to get the program a little bit sped up for you guys. We understand that there's some folks that don't want to sit here and listen to us for 2 hours solid. We'll try to make it more interesting and a little more quick.
Yeah, fuck off.
This might go 2 hours.
We got some shit to say, and we're going to say what we got to say.
Exactly. We're going to
People who rock with us.
Okay, so let's do this.
Hold on. Oh, I got some.
Okay.
Brownsville, Brooklyn, stand up.
Hold on. Let's do this like this. We got some new shit for them.
Brownsville, Brooklyn, stand up. Y'all know what it is.
There you go. See We're advancing here.
Yeah,
we're not the most technical of motherfuckers when it comes to this video editing stuff. When it comes to gun shit, we know a good bit of shit.
When it comes to shooting, we know even more shit.
Exactly. But bear with us while we get the editing stuff. We understand that. We will be getting the smaller parts and cutouts of the main podcast. We want to service everybody. We want everybody to be happy. We know people want to jump to certain spots they want to hear.
Absolutely.
But we would hope that you would at least take a Sunday or a Saturday or something whenever you get some time. Watch the whole podcast. It helps us out with the algorithm.
If you rock with the Ignorant Nerds, just watch the podcast. I'm sure it's a gem in there for everybody, right? Especially if you're new to this. Just pay attention. You know, I know everybody's attention span is short, right? It's hard to keep everybody's attention for long. Right. But I promise you, there's something in there for everybody. All right, so rock out with us, right?
Rock out with us, and it helps the algorithm. Like I said earlier, it helps us with monetization and stuff like that. We're going to be frank with you. We're looking to get monetized. We're looking to get some branding and sponsors and stuff like that. And that makes it easier on us to provide better content. For you guys.
And more content.
And more content. And we'll be visiting new thing, gun shows, and doing some satellite and remote stuff from gun shows, probably SHOT Show 2025. We'll hit that. We'll make sure we get out there and do some things and try to travel around and get some insight from around at least the southeast area where we're at, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee type stuff.
And I'm not trying to leak too much, but we got a special little giveaway coming. And nothing too crazy, but we just want to say thank you for all the people that subscribe, that like, that watch, who took their time out, their busy day. So we got some things we want to kind of share with you guys coming in a very near future.
Special interviews coming?
Yeah, Special
interviews coming?
We're going to keep that quiet right
now. But
we working.
Yep, let's get into it, okay? So first things first, we want to talk about coming back, entering the range, firearm loaded or unloaded. So, and that's not a question to you, of course, because we already know the answer that you're going to give. But for the new shooters, the new gun owners, it is improper etiquette to roll up with a loaded firearm in your bag. Number one, it definitely leads to more accidents and mishaps.
So this is back to the do's and the don'ts of what we're getting ready to do, right?
Right.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's right.
So entering the range, loaded or unloaded firearm, unholstering the firearm while you're in the store, if it is in the holster on your person, bringing the firearm in a case or a bag, what's the better look? So on my end of it, I think I would feel a little bit weird coming in, just walking down the street with an AR. I know some people do it. They don't care. It's 2A freedom. I'm just saying the perception. Right,
because that's a two-way street, right?
Because you don't want people who passing by, this is random dude walking up the street, because some people don't know, let's say Bullseye, for instance.
Correct.
Some people don't know what's up there.
Right.
They're just traveling through downtown, right?
Correct.
And now they see me popping out the car and I got an AR up in the air, toting just walking randomly down the sidewalk. You might get a random call.
Yeah.
Right?
Are we going political on this one? Because it's also depending on wherever you are and what... If you black and you in a certain area, don't be walking out here with no firearm pointing in the air like the gentleman just said. I promise you that can lead to some different issues other than, let's say, the other counterparts.
Right.
Well, we don't want to get too political.
Yeah, we're not going to get political into it, but it's just proper etiquette. Have something covered up in the range bag. It's almost like EDC, everyday carry. You don't want to open. Well, I'm not going to say.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm not going to say you don't want to open carry. You can open carry as much as you want to, but it's better that the assailant doesn't know that you are armed.
All right, so you do what you want to do, but we talking about entering the fire. We talking about entering the gun shop to go to the range, right?
Right.
So as a me being behind the counter, the proper way to come into a fire is with a let's say if you got a rifle, a long gun, right, or a pistol, it doesn't matter. Have it in unholstered. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm talking about unholstered.
Right.
Have it in a range bag.
Right.
No magazine in the firearm.
That's correct.
Possibly, if you can have a chamber flag in there, put a chamber flag in there.
Or
with the bolt lock back.
Lock back, right? That's right.
And if you do not have a range bag, even though we prefer you have a range bag, this is the proper way to do it. Not with the rifle slung over with a 30-round magazine and then you just walk into the store. Everybody in the range, everybody in the shop pretty much got firearms on them, so it looked bad when you just come in there with the rifle slung across you. So what you want to do...
Pistol as well.
Pistol as well, correct. Right. With the pistol in your hand, right? If you got the pistol holstered, I'm fine with it. Just make sure you don't take the unholstered.
All right.
Right? I'm fine. As long as if it's holstered, you good. But it's when it's not in a range bag or it's in your hand. That's when it becomes an issue.
Yeah. And then there are some stores that do not want you to come into the store at
all
armed with anything loaded.
That's right.
Right? And then there are some stores that are kind of lax on that, your everyday carry. And I don't mean lax by they're not compliant or something like that. I'm just saying the rules are easy because they understand and they're a lot more 2A.
Yeah.
And they understand people are going to have everyday carries on them. They're walking into a gun store. They're coming to shoot in the range. Those are the type of people who have EDCs.
Yeah.
For the most part.
And I could understand both ways. I could understand stores who don't want you to come in there because I work there, right?
Right.
So I've seen some of the most nefarious things where people come in, hey, do you guys got a holster for? And they start swinging firearms around, right? And I also understand the person who say, hey, this is my Second Amendment right. I should be able to carry my firearm on me. So I understand both ways, as long as we being safe.
Right.
Safety is the number one rule.
And I think the reason is this, right? Because some stores, talking about unloaded, right? Some stores don't know if you have your personal firearm in your hand, pointing it around in the store, trying to check it out, or it's one from behind the case and someone's helping you.
Correct.
Right? So I can kind of get a little bit of why somebody would say, hey, no loaded firearms.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
There's certain situations where you don't know if that's that guy unholstered his firearm or if he's looking at something.
And not only that, it's a lot of customers who are new, right? And they come in with the perception that the firearm is unloaded, right? So what they do is they'll drop the magazine. Once the magazine is out, to them, the firearm is not loaded. But they forgot it's around in the chamber.
Right.
So it goes back to just safety, right? So I understand keep your firearm in a range bag at all times and not having a firearm on your person. So I understand that.
Okay, so unloaded, right? Whatever guns you are planning to come shoot at the range, have them unloaded in the bag, have them, breached, locked back, right? Slide locked on pistols, bolt locked on rifles, and make sure that whatever firearm you have in the holster, don't unholster it.
Correct.
Okay. Or if it's holstered, if there's no magazine in it and it's in slide lock in the holster, I think that's something that you can kind of show on your hip. But I don't know why you would do that walking in.
I mean,
I'm just proposing it, but I'm saying that you would.
I'm going to speak for my store. We're not walking around looking at everybody's hips and everything.
Right.
Look, if you got a firearm on you, fine, right? Just don't unholster, right? If any question you have to ask me about your firearm, I can answer it while your gun is still in the holster. So let's say if you need an extra magazine, you should know what firearm you got. You should know what magazine you're looking for. So for instance, if you say, hey, I have a Glock 19 Gen 5, I need a magazine. All right, no problem. I can go get that. Or a holster. I got a Glock 19 Gen 5, I need a holster. I can go get that. I don't need you to take the gun off your hip and say, hey, this is what I have. It's up to you to know what firearm you're carrying.
Right, that is
Keep
correct.
your firearm on your person, and a lot of issues will be avoided, I promise you.
As a consumer, real quick tidbit before I see our time. We got a new timer so we can make sure that we're covering everything and get into it. As a new firearm, know what you bought.
Correct.
Don't come in and saying, hey, I need a magazine for a Ruger. Okay, you know the manufacturer, but what's the fucking model number?
Or don't come in here saying I need a magazine or a clip for a 9mm.
Yeah, and we don't. You got to help these guys out.
Correct.
Right. Somebody is only as knowledgeable as the information that's given to them.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So they can actually help. Okay. But
and then the customer get mad at you when you're trying to dig for more information. All right.
Right.
You need a magazine for 9mm. Which 9mm? Well, it looked like this. You're not helping us.
Yeah. But as a consumer, let's say this to salesmen that are out there. Try your best not to make the customer feel inferior because they don't know.
Yeah.
But if you have told them, I'm a big proponent of this. I coach football and basketball and different sports in the youth. If I've told you, I'm going to get upset. But if you don't know and I've never told you, I'm not going to get upset because you don't know, right? And I have to give credence to ignorance, and then I educate, and then ignorance after education equals, man, we're going digital.
You see, well, this is why I draw the line now. You just said you teach. That's youth. So
Right.
most of the time, the youth don't know no better.
Right.
We are adults walking around with firearms. It would behoove you to know what the hell you carrying.
But let's say this, right? Psychologically, I was a psych guy in college, right? Most people aren't actually grown mentally until like 25, 27.
All right, then you shouldn't be carrying a firearm.
Well, I'm just saying is this. Not saying they're going to come in and do childish shit, but as far as
that.
They will fake the funk just like a kid will. Did you clean the room? Oh, yeah. But then rush and go do it before you get, you see what I'm saying? So they'll they don't want to seem inferior. They don't want to seem uneducated. So they'll I know you've had this happen, right? At the store where somebody give you and pretend like, oh yeah, I'm an experienced shooter, but they ain't as experienced as they leading up to, because they don't, I think at a certain point, they don't want you to browbeat them.
Correct. I know, I understand that. But listen, you're going to get the best information when you're honest about it.
Right.
That's how I learned, right? Being honest about what I don't know, right? And that way somebody can help you, not what we call fronting.
Right.
You coming in fronting like you know everything. We know you don't know. Once the conversation starts, I know you don't know anything, and now I got to educate you. So now it looks weird. But again, you just got to know what you got, bro.
Yeah.
You got to know what you got.
Okay. So to end this segment of it is the case of the bag, right? Bring a pistol case or bag, or bring a rifle case.
Yeah.
Put it up. It looks a lot better. It's better for the range. It's better for society, or not society.
And you look like you know what you're doing, right? You're not just coming in here. Yeah, you're not just coming in here with a rifle slung across your neck. But look, just because you can do it, that don't mean you should do it.
Have the magazine out of the rifle. Have the magazine out of the gun, like you said earlier, just so it makes everybody else feel safe.
Hey, all right, I'll give you an example. The other day, 2 days ago, I got a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
A customer called me. He said, hey, man, I'm in the parking lot. I have a long gun.
I was there.
Correct.
That one?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
He said, I don't have a range bag. What is the proper way to bring it in? Customer, I applaud you. Mm-hmm. Right? Professional way to do it.
And he ended up being a good kid.
Absolutely. I gave him the intel. Hey, all right, if you don't have a chamber flag, bolt lock back to the red magazine out. And if you can, possibly, take 2 pins out, break it apart for me.
And that's how he came in.
He did exactly that.
And that's how he came in with the rifle in
2 pieces,
lower and upper.
Now, when he come in, nobody feels like, we got to watch this guy, right?
Right.
Because that's what it really is.
Yeah,
somebody come in with a rifle slung across their neck with a magazine, and everybody's watching that person.
Yeah.
So now he comes in with the rifle in 2 halves. Guess what? I know it's him because I just talked to the guy.
Yeah.
He's getting the utmost treatment. He's getting the best treatment I could possibly give him. Hey, I appreciate you, blah, blah, blah. And here's a free range pass.
Hey, and for those who think they know better, customers like us, attentive salesmen like Chuck and the other guys at Bullseye and other locations, we got our eye on you as soon as you come in the
Absolutely.
door. Like I find myself being over. These are my guys, right? I fuck with them the long way, is how we say it in the South, right? I fuck with them the long way.
And I'm from Brooklyn, so pause.
Right. So, yeah, pause. I'm still getting used to the pause shit. Right.
Pause on what he just said.
It is what it is. But we fuck with y'all the long way, meaning we loyal to the soil.
Absolutely.
So we don't want you nefarious shit to go on in your store as much as we don't want it in our own lives.
That's right.
Because y'all are, I consider y'all, my partner,
brother.
family.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Some of them's partners, they ain't all the way family. I'm just being straight up honest with you. That's just how.
If they know, they know.
Right.
We know what it is.
I'm cordial and cool.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But you make it a lot better for everybody in the store just to come in and be compliant. Everybody wants to buck the system, and all these videos on about how to interact with police in your car. Man, forget all that goddamn trying to be righteous.
It all goes back to
if I can give this motherfucker some information real quick and he get the fuck out of my face, and I gotta seem like a pussy or a bitch or something. Man, I can be that for 5 minutes.
No.
not to get no ticket or no jail time or no fucking possible.
Look,
you know what I'm saying?
it all goes
but
back
that
to-
goes the same way with the store.
Right. Just because you could, that don't mean you should.
Right.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Do the
okay?
right thing.
All right. We ended up on the great timing. This is going perfectly well. We got the timer on it, so we're going to be forward and upfront and honest with you guys. Yeah. We're getting it together.
We know everybody's attention span is a little short these days, so
right.
we're trying to help everybody out. So
yeah, it is what it is.
Let's rock.
Okay. So next thing. Filling out the waivers, eyes and ears, which you'll hear that, targets, ammo, preparing to enter the range. Okay, so you come in, you're fully compliant, and we say that not to meaning that you a bitch or anything like that. You just following the rules. Okay,
you're just trying to make the transaction as smooth as possible.
Right.
Most ranges you go in, if it's your first time, they're gonna make you watch a short video. Other ranges, they'll make you fill out a waiver, right?
Right.
They're gonna the typical things, how many shooters.
Read the waiver.
Yeah, read the
fucking waiver.
Important, right?
Because I'm telling you right now, you're signing your fucking life away.
But I wouldn't say that, right?
Well,
there's rules in the waiver,
right,
that you should follow.
Yeah,
right. So pay attention.
I don't mean it like it's a death situation,
right.
But you are liable for everything that you do, yeah. And the waiver is making sure that the gun store or range covers themselves.
Correct.
Because we don't know what your negligence is. You might be an experienced shooter. I've seen experienced shooters shoot their fucking finger off. Yeah. I've seen experienced shooters have a mishap, a misfire, right? Not pull their finger out the trigger, or I've seen them pull a magazine out thinking it was empty, say, hey, check this trigger out, and point it down range, and it go off.
And more importantly, when you read the waiver, in the waiver, it has our bylaws for that particular shopping in, right? So that way, if you're in the range and you're doing what you're not supposed to do, and we bring it to your attention, we have the right to remove you from the range. And because you signed the waiver stating that you understood the law and the rules of our store, you don't really have a leg to stand on if we try to put you out. So,
right.
There you go.
Okay, so if you get there, you get to the counter. Most indoor ranges have a rental booth where you can rent guns. Yeah. Bullseye's got a great selection of rental guns there that you can try out.
Pistol and rifle.
And we talked about that in episode 1 about you renting guns and trying them out before you buy.
Absolutely.
For $10, $12, $20 or whatever it is, go on the range, buy you $20 worth of ammo, go shoot it, make sure you like it. Most ranges, I think, you guys do a good job of being able to swap the weapon out, see what you want.
Absolutely.
Some ranges don't do that.
Correct.
Right.
And if you do, you have to repay.
Right. For every firearm. But listen, if you're I don't want to say wise, but I guess if you're wise, talk to the guys behind the counter and say, look, I am definitely looking to make a purchase today, but I need to figure out what I need. So hey, if I buy say they charge $10 per firearm, if I'm telling you and committing to buying a firearm today, can I take and try these 3 out? These are the 3 that I want to try.
Correct.
I pay 1 rental fee. Boom. If I don't buy the weapon, I'll pay the rental fee for all 3.
Yeah. Well, I know every store has different rules. I know our shop, Bullseye Indoor Range and Gun Shop in downtown Lawrenceville, Georgia. When you come to rent a firearm from us, firearm rental is $10 plus the price of ammo. You have to purchase our ammo. But we allow you to swap as many times as you want. Pistol, rifle, and you're only paying that $10 one time. And if you decide to buy a firearm after you've rented these firearms, we don't charge you for the firearm rental or range time.
Oh, see, that's beautiful right there.
Yeah, so we try to take care of people.
221 West Krogan Street, Lawrenceville, Georgia, 30045?
30046.
46. Yeah. Okay, so we that's your plug, Jeremy.
That's a plug.
Yeah. That's your plug, Jeremy. We expect something out of that. We're not fucking assholes. Eyes and ears. So when they say, do you have eyes and ears, that means do you have ear protection and do you have safety glasses? Okay. At Bullseye, it's samples like, what is it, $2 for
$2 for the eye rental. Well, eyes purchase because you're keeping them.
Purchase, you keep
50 cents for the ear rental.
50 cents for the ear rental. Okay. You got to clean your ears out, wax and get the wax off of that shit. And be courteous because they have to clean them and other people have to use them. So that's
if you plan on visiting the range a lot, purchase your own.
Electronic. We talked about that. I think in the last episode, electronic versus passive.
Yeah. If it's the range visit once then I understand you're renting. But if you're going to visit the range multiple times, purchase your own. It's easier, it's cheaper,
right?
And you don't have to worry about the last person who won. Even though we typically everything gets sprayed down and wiped down. Okay.
Targets and ammo. You don't need to be shooting hollow points. JHPs, jacketed hollow point, is what they'll say on the box. You don't need to. Well, I advise that you do shoot your defensive round that you plan on using.
Well, that's a caveat.
But
if you're new to the range, if you're new to the range, you're just practicing. You don't need jacket.
FMJs is what
full
they're
metal
called.
jacket.
So some people will ask you, do you need FMJs or JHPs, right? And FMJ is?
Full metal jacket.
And JHP is?
Jacket at hollow points.
Okay, JHP is for?
Self-defense.
And FMJ is for?
Target practice, but you can use them in self-defense if you had to.
Okay, and we'll get into that.
Because
that's
a
episode,
yeah, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Of what the difference is between FMJ, JHP, and ballistically.
Because I'm sure up in the northern states, more people have died from jacket at hollow points. I mean,
from
metal
FMJ,
jacket,
because that's the cheapest shit.
and that's the closest thing we possibly could get up.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. So So preparing to enter the range, I see it as a consumer all the time, and I hang out at the store. I'm like an intern, I guess. Basically, I help out.
I don't know if it's like you like one of the guys. Like
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just try to help out because I know what it is. I know the struggle. Coming up in a family-owned business, I started from the absolute rock bottom and sweeping up and doing the bullshit to running full crews of 30, 40 people, right? So I understand the plight at the bottom, and I know it get busy. I know what it is. I know what it is as a business owner. So you won't find none of my employees, over a couple 300 employees that we had over 40 years, you will not find one of them that didn't say that me and my dad didn't get in there and got hands on.
Yeah.
Right. Period.
That's a sign of a true leader.
We lead by example.
That's it.
Right. So
That's me.
And if I can do it, you can do it. Type
That's
shit.
it.
And if you can do it, I can do it.
And you don't have no excuse to not do it, because here I am being your superior, not superior in life, but your hierarchy.
Right.
And you see me knees deep in the mud.
You're more willing to get into it.
There you go.
And then not know, I don't want to do it. You ain't doing it.
There you go.
You see everybody. So and
Absolutely.
that's a quick tangent.
Yeah.
We go on those all the time. Fuck it. It is
Right.
what it is. Okay.
And we really
Preparing to enter the range, and that's what I started out with. I see it all the time. Is they go in there, they got the eyes and ears in their hands, and they fixing to walk through the door.
Yeah.
You will lose your fucking hearing. Let me say it like that because it's important.
Yeah.
Like that. You think it's okay? Oh, I was out shooting outside with my parents at the farm and shit like that. The sound and the shockwave from the sound, right? And when you're outdoors,
it's different from
when it's trapped enclosed, and you're in a brick and mortar
soundproof.
Right, you're in a soundproof brick and mortar place. It is concussive.
And you got little two shoot over here with a Draco.
Well, or somebody with a pistol with
the AR pistol next to you
with the comp,
and then you got somebody with some slugs, shotgun with some slugs. So yeah, it get real loud in there.
With the brake on it, right? When I said comp, but that's for the pistol. But with the brake on it, and the brake is concussing sideways into the next bay. So if you don't have your ears on, we understand eyes until you get into the bay, but get your ears on.
And most of the time, anyway, we pay attention. So put your eyes and your ears on before you go. And we during the interaction of you signing into the range, we kind of say that anyway. Hey, get your eyes and your ears on before you enter the range. So
most gun ranges, just so you know, I think I throw this in here. Excuse me. Most gun ranges have a double door set. No. Please allow one door to close
before you open it.
Before you open the other one, because and you think, oh my God, what's the big deal? Okay, so what happens is when both doors are open, the concussion and the sound from the shot sounds like a real live fire shot in the shop while people are shopping.
Correct.
Right? So it kind of startles certain people, especially new gun owners, especially potential gun owners that don't.
I mean, anybody in there that got a firearm is startled, right? Because you don't know
if it's here.
Unless you're used to it, right? So I've been at Bullseye for some years now, right? So I'm kind of used to I know the difference between a shot when both doors open versus a shot that's right next to me. But still, it sounds like it's in the shop. So everybody prone to grab their firearm, making sure everything is safe. So
that's correct.
Close one door, and before you open the second door. It's simple. It's simple rules, guys.
Okay, so I think we got enough time that we can go into the next set, which is asking questions regarding firearms with slang or no specific knowledge of what is needed. And we keep continually touching on this.
Yeah, but that's
clips versus magazines.
Beams versus laser.
The 5.56 chopper with the monkey nuts.
Shout out to the.
Give it to him. Give it to him right now.
Right, so this was birthed because
I listen. Let me preface this real quick for you. I got shirts made for us for this because it was the funniest story in the world that Chuck told me about it when the old guy came in, right? But I did it wrong, and he's going to explain it. But the shirt is close, but it's not there. We're going to get new shirts. It's going to be merch out. We're gonna put it out as merch because I think it's
funny.
It's funny,
but it's not funny.
But it's not funny. I think there's a lesson learned in it.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
So
and I think we may do the shirt in the front and then do the right way on the back.
No, we're gonna do the right way on the front, and we're gonna put the chopper with the 5.56.
Okay, on the back. Hey, guess what? You know what? Brainstorm.
We're
right?
gonna figure it out. But listen,
figure it out.
So
Okay.
this is the story behind it, though.
Yeah,
so we had an older gentleman, right, who you wouldn't expect, right, to come in the store.
What would you say? Age range?
Oh man, he probably was in his 50s.
50s
Right.
to 60s.
Yeah,
Right.
but he kind of looked a little. The way he came across, it was a little like pimpish, like he's on his pimp shit. Like,
Pimpin'
yeah,
Ken.
a little small. Yeah,
Pimpin' Ken is not your
so
friend.
he comes up to me in another coworker, and he said, smooth like this. He said, "Hey man, do you guys got that chopper 5.6 with the monkey nuts?" So now my counterpart, he's I hate to say it, but he's white. He don't know what the hell going on. I'm from the hood, so I know what monkey nuts mean. So we both looking like, did he really just say that? Mm-hmm. This is a grown ass man, by the way. Chopper 5.6 with the monkey nuts. Mm-hmm. Dog. So this is where this was birthed from. So this is not what you want to say. You want to say, hey, do you have an AR 5.56 with a drum magazine?
Dual drum.
Can we show them?
Yeah, show them. That's what I said. I was tapping you earlier. Show them. So when somebody says chopper 5.6 with the monkey nuts, for you salesmen and consumers that don't know what that is,
Clear, right?
Yep, clear firearm. We
Right.
showing you guys because we're being politically correct for you. We know that we're going to be safe. Fuck somebody who don't think that we're safe. Okay, let's go. Empty magazine.
Monkey nuts.
Monkey nuts.
Chopper 5.6. Monkey nuts.
Chopper 5.6 with the monkey nuts.
Yeah, man.
All right.
So this is what he was talking about, chopper 5.6 with the monkey nuts. Even though because we speak that kind of language, I know what he was talking about. This is not how you want to come into a gun shop and talk to people. It's not.
No.
It's nothing. You could have said an AR 5.56 and with a drum magazine, and we would have understood exactly what you was talking about, and you would have saved yourself some embarrassment.
Well, you're lucky you talked to a black guy because the white guy wouldn't have known what the fuck.
Well, he
was
asked the
about.
white guy. He asked Kevin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he asked Kevin. And Kevin looked like he fucking saw an alien.
Like, what?
What the fuck is this?
What?
What the fuck is this talking about? You know.
Yeah. Slang and terminology. Come in there. We talked about it. We touched on it earlier. Know your manufacturer. Know what you have. Know what's going on, because it makes you even seem more intelligent. Well, you got to play the role until you get it. You know what I'm saying? Type shit.
Let me give you an example real quick.
Okay.
And this is why I get upset with adults, right? So a person transfer a gun to our shop, right? All right. So for those who don't know what transfer means, that means you went online. You was looking for a firearm. You purchased a firearm online. You chose us as a FFL transfer. You had the gun shipped to us, and then you came and picked the gun up. Okay. So that's a lot of steps, right?
Right.
So now when you come to pick the firearm up, you say, hey, I'm here to pick up a gun. So I ask you, all right, can I get your license, your driver's license? We got a carry permit. Let me get that as well. Mm-hmm. And what kind of firearm was it?
Right.
It's a 9mm. I'm trying to be specific. You've been in the back room. We got 1,000 guns back there.
Right.
I'm trying to get specific so I can go straight to the firearm. What kind of 9mm? 9mm. So you mean to tell me you went online, you searched this gun, looked this gun up, paid for this gun, chose us as your FFL, paid for this gun, you did all that, and now when it's time to pick it up, you don't know what you purchased. That's a problem.
That's a real serious.
And that's what we here to correct. That can't happen.
Yeah. We can, let's see. I think I had scratched one of them out, but I think it's kind of like perception, right? Coming in and trying to buy something for somebody else.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
I think we got a couple of minutes. I think we can kind of touch on it. Ammunition, whatever like that. Husband might tell a wife to stop by and get some ammo from the gun store, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with that.
Correct.
But to the salesman, and I think I'm trying to help them out, right? To the salesman, it seems weird if you say, hey, I need some shotgun shells, and you don't know, and you're like, hey, what do you need on the phone?
But ammo is not so bad, right?
Right.
Because we let it slide. There's no 4473 attached to that, right?
Right.
So there's no foul attached to that. It's when it's a firearm. Uh-huh. So if you come in and you say, hey, I want to pick up some ammo for my husband, and you be like, hey, what kind of firearm is it? She confused. That's not the issue. It's
Right.
the issue when it's a firearm involved.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So when you come in to pick up a firearm and you don't know what firearm that you took the time to order, that's the issue. And these are the issues that we're trying to get rid of. If you don't know what firearm you ordered, we got
The question comes up, do they know, and they would be asking themselves in their head is, hey, do they know, is this them? Is this the person who ordered it?
Or should you be carrying a gun? right? It's your responsibility to know. If I go online and I purchase something, I know what I purchased. So when it comes to my house or when I'm looking for it, I know exactly to go on my email and look for, hey, I bought a holster from QVO. Shout out to QVO, Quick Violent Over Tactical. I bought a holster from QVO, so I'm going to my email. I'm looking for that particular email. I know what I purchased.
Right.
So.
Okay. So.
Know your shit.
All right. So to finalize on that real quick, just know your shit. Like you said, I got to back that up. And fake it till you make it, right? I don't want you to fake it,
no.
Right? But I want you to have some semblance of what you need to say and how you need to say it.
Yeah.
The slang doesn't fly.
But this is why we're here to help people,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to go through that.
Yep. So let's do this. Let's go into entering the shooting bays. Right.
Okay.
I think I touched on it on Tactical Citizen TV regarding how your pistols or rifles are facing in your bag.
What is Tactical Citizen TV?
That's another channel that we have that is based on, from the consumer level, me being a gun owner, just trying to help out these guys here by informing you, the consumer to consumer, of what needs to go on and safety and just really trying to be a safe and promote the 2A industry at the same time.
So if you support us, do me a favor, stop what you're doing. Subscribe, Tactical Citizen TV.
Tactical
Follow
Citizen
them on
TV.
Instagram, Tactical Citizen TV.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Same do better.
Let's
version.
run it up, guys. Come on,
Right.
we run it up. We trying to help you guys, man.
Right. Entering the shooting bays. Okay, so whatever assigned bay, because I ran into this the other day. Yesterday, matter of fact, when I had a training session with a friend of mine, we had gotten bays 2 and 3. When we get down there, there's somebody trying to load his weapon up in bay 3, and I politely told him, hey, look, man, we got bay 2 and 3. Oh, man, I just saw it empty, so I was just loading my firearm over here because, we came 3 deep, whatever. Okay,
That's not how any of this works.
That's not how it works, right? You get a bay, you stay in that bay. Technically, you're supposed to load the firearm in that bay. You can't load it firearm in a bay and then swap bays, because then you're technically bringing a loaded firearm out of the bay and into another bay, so even if it's for a split second.
And believe it or
I know
not,
everybody tries to tell you, oh my God, it's just for.
And they make a big deal out of that.
Right.
Correct.
And it's just safety precaution.
Look, follow rules. You before you got into the range, you signed a waiver. Follow the rules. So when you get called out on your bullshit, you cannot get mad. So if you assign bay 2, stay in bay 2.
So range bags getting into the bay. I explained it on the other channel. Like I said, if you got pistols that are facing 2 different ways because the handles get thicker, so you try to make it where it's not bulging out and being crazy, or rifles that are facing 2 different ways because the stocks are bigger on the end, so you most likely facing them 2 different ways, so it doesn't bulge your bag on one side. Pull out the rifle or pistol that is facing downrange and put it onto the table or whatever mechanism they have for you to lay out your stuff, and then take the bag and simply spin it around and then pull the other rifle out so the muzzle is always pointed downrange. You think it's simple because you've already went through and the magazine's not in it. The bolt's locked back and slide locked or on the pistol, right? You think you've done all these precautions. What's one more precaution?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And it makes the people who are in there feel safe, because there are sometimes in bays people who are just coming to watch and they're at the back wall, right? And they're sitting there. And when you pull out a weapon, they don't know because they weren't out there with you with the salesman that the salesman saw was empty.
Correct.
They're just coming and seeing you pulling something out of the bag, and the muzzle's pointed right back at the back wall, even in their direction. Not even got to be at them.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you enter a range, right? 9 out of 10, most ranges are going to have an RSO. That's a range safety officer. So if there's any issues, the range safety officer should be there to stop it. But each individual should be their own range safety officer, right? Because the range safety officer might be in bay 1 and something going on weird in lane 11. And if you're closer to it, if you see something, you have the right to say something, right? It's your life on the line, so you should be able to speak about it. But you got to be aware. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to maximize safety.
Okay. Also, real quick, if you should have to... We'll get into all the failures and mishaps here in a hot second, right? And that's on the next little section here. But if you have to adjust the sight, work on the weapon for some reason, right, that unload it. I think it's a good practice to make sure that you keep your ammo not spread out right in front of you, but over to one side or other. Maybe even off of the table if you have to make a correction to the weapon, like you're sighting in or something like that, right? Take the magazine out. turn your stuff, sight it in. When you get a little more advanced and you have a lot more trigger discipline and hand placement and you know what you're doing, I think, micro adjustments real quick on the fly. Okay, cool. But new gun owners, you want to make sure the firearm's unloaded before you start tinkering with it.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once we talk about red dots. Chuck is a red dot fanatic. He loves red dots. I love red dots too. Irons, we shoot both. But once the red dot is connected to the firearm, it's part of the firearm. It's an integral part of the firearm. Right. So once you're touching and adjusting on it, we need to make sure that firearm's clear before we do that.
That's right.
Okay. So I think making any micro adjustments, or if you're uncomfortable trying to make a sight adjustment or something like that, talk to the RSO, range safety officer, and have them help you. They'll help you. And if they can't help you, they'll grab somebody from the shop and come down to somebody who's knowledgeable and proficient and can help.
Absolutely.
Right. Other than that, I think down the range bays, it's really that. Just make sure your muzzle's always pointed down range. It's those safety rules.
All right. So there's one thing, right? So a lot of times people come on younger people. They come on dates with their girlfriends, right?
Okay.
And they're doing a lot of videotaping, right? And then you have the girl. It's normally the girl who does this a lot, right? They turn around with the firearm, like, look, honey. All right, you just broke the 180, right? So part of the rule is to keep the firearm pointed down range at all times, and then when the RSO say something, most of the time it become an issue. But we can circumvent that just by keeping the firearm. You can take as many pictures and videos you want as long as that firearm is pointed down range. We don't mind the videos and pictures. Hell, we do it too. But keep the firearm pointed down range at all times.
I think it would be a good thing for them to hear about the experience you had told me about the other day with the old lady.
All right, so I was helping a lady. I don't want to call her old, young, whatever. I was helping a lady.
A lady. My bad.
Yeah, correct. I was helping her learn how to shoot. I was giving her some tips, like we always do. And
you old bitch. I just got to say that just because you pointed the shit at my partner.
I know.
But I don't mean it like that,
look,
man.
if you're a subscriber and you watch this video,
I got to be ignorant real quick. Yeah, that's go ahead.
No,
sorry.
Yeah. I was being professional now. This is my time to look at here, you old bitch. Don't you ever do no shit like that again. All right, but anyway, I was helping her, so we loaded the firearm. So I'm standing literally maybe 2 feet behind her, giving her instructions. And being a new person to firearms, she turned around, gun pointing directly at my chest, magazine fully loaded. She didn't have a finger on the trigger, but when I tell you I saw my light flash in front of my I kind of wanted to knock her across the bay, but I kept it professional because the one thing you don't want to do is panic. Because when you panic, they panic. Yeah. Right? So I kept it professional, and I got out the way where I can grab the firearm and kind of push it to the side. But that's the one thing you don't want to do. I'm not going to lie to you. I almost saw you in my jeans, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I had came in the day it happened, and I could see the look on his face when he was telling me the story, that it's serious.
It's serious, man. Because in the instant... That lady could have ended my life.
Because not even could she have accidentally pulled the trigger turning around on you, but even in you trying to get out of the way, if she got a finger on it, it could go off.
But that's why I didn't panic, right? And some people not,
Right.
So some people automatically jump and she jumped. So I knew not to kind of exaggerate it because at that moment I knew she was new and she was already jumpy. But yeah, it's dangerous, man.
Can I let them know what our philosophy is on that?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Chuck and I have, we share the same philosophy when it comes to somebody.
Wait, hold on. Can I get a camera 3?
Oh, yeah, here you go.
All right, this is my philosophy. If you fucking shoot me, I'm shooting your ass back. I plan to leave with the same amount of holes I came with. So let's please play fair, all right? Thank you, my good man.
Yeah, I'm shooting you in your fucking shit. If I don't, if it's not a fatal mortal wound, I'm digging you in.
I don't give a fuck if it's fatal now. I'm still getting one off. Fuck that. I'm not going out like that. I survived most of my life in Brownsville, Brooklyn. I ain't come to Georgia to be killed by some fucking 50-year-old lady who can't keep a finger off the trigger.
Right. That's right. That's right. Okay, so let's get into. Well, we kind of did that, the do's and don'ts of muzzle direction downrange, loading and unloading the firearm. I think we can get into that, loading and unloading the firearm. We kind of did the do's and don'ts of the muzzle, with the range bag and stuff like that.
Let's talk about it.
Now, that same thing with the range bag pulling the weapon out applies to the story he just talked about. Once the weapon is loaded, you definitely don't want to point it backwards out of the range. So we do things in terms of degrees, even from long range shooting all the way down to the pistol bays of saying, hey, look, you've got about a 60-degree window that muzzle needs to be pointed. Right, because there's walls on each side of the bay. Right, you got about 60 degrees. Just because there's a wall, let me tell you guys, just because there's a wall right beside you, that don't mean it's fucking bulletproof.
And I don't mean shoot it.
Right. Okay, so if I'm looking at the gun sideways, there's somebody right there. Okay, through the wall. So one of the tenets to gun safety is be sure of your target and what's beyond it. Okay. Now, just because it looks like a fancy wall, that does not mean that it's bulletproof or any type of reinforced anything.
Can I get 3?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So in other words, what he's saying is that if you're on lane number 4, you should not be fucking shooting targets on lane number 2. Right? Keep the firearm pointed straight at all times. We won't have this issue. Thank you.
Okay, so it's you're playing with people's lives.
Correct. And
right?
your own life.
It's like drinking and driving, right? At a certain point, one drink or whatever like that. We understand there's a limit and all that stuff there, but habitually going over the limit and then risking it. At some point, something's going to happen. Accident, curb, some type of fatality, whatever. It could be something as simple as blowing a tire out. I'm not saying that you detrimental to somebody every time. Shit, I used to be young. I used to do that dumb shit too. All right, leaving out the club. So it is what it is. Let's talk about stance, grip, alignment, target distance, trigger manipulation.
Right. So this is personal to a lot of people because I'm a firearm instructor, so as well as you, right? Yep. So when you teaching, tell me how do you teach stance to somebody? Because I'm sure we probably come at this from 2 different perspectives.
I give them an option between isosceles and the Weaver stance, like whatever's more comfortable to you. Because when it comes down to it, my philosophy is the same as yours. Is about that front sight staying still while you're manipulating the trigger.
Okay.
At certain times, guess what? If I'm in the bed and somebody busting, I'm laying down. I can't practice that in the range.
Yep.
Right? Or I'm asleep on the couch. Or I'm sitting down in front of the TV. Like there's different scenarios that stance is not going to come into play at some point.
So when I'm practicing, when I'm teaching, stance is maybe one. And I know somebody going to get on here and be like, "Well, that's fucking stupid. Why wouldn't you teach?" Stance is probably one of the last things I will implement. Who knows how you're going to be standing in that moment, right? You might be pressed up against a barricade, a barrier. We don't know, right? You might be in a bed. You just don't know, right? Manipulate pull a trigger without moving the front sight.
I'll say this about stance. Upper body is the only thing I really concern myself with, and that's not leaning back over your hips, but leaning into the fight, and that's about it. And feet and all that stuff there.
But is that
recoil?
But is that in a fire? Is that in a static range, or is that in real life? So here's the difference. Because to me, when you at a static range, right, that means nobody's shooting back. You're shooting that paper. You can get as comfortable as you want. You can do all these weird things. Outside, you might not even have a chance to get in a proper stand. Leaning back to me might be your only option.
Right.
Right? You might have to lean around somebody to get a proper shot. So how do you teach that?
Well, I would say that I would add that for new shooters leaning forward.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, just for recoil. Right, to soak up, to understand how to soak up. Because most of the time when they're leaning back, starting new, they'll go
correct.
And start
and the firearm want to push you back anyway.
Right.
So here's what so for new shooters or any shooter, right? To me, the indoor static range, you can hone your skills there, right? You can learn trigger discipline, but if you really want to learn how to shoot, you have to get, at some point, you have to get to outdoor range where you're able to move and draw from your holster, do the things that indoor ranges won't allow you to do, right? Indoor ranges, you need it, right? Trust me, I love the indoor range, but to take your skill to the next level, you need an outdoor range.
All right. We can go, just to touch on that, right? Most of what's going to get you hung up in a defensive situation are the intangibles that you can't do at an indoor range.
Correct.
Which is what he just said, the draw,
correct,
the moving, the slide step out of that, knowing which direction to slide step. It's a right-handed shooter, right? And which way to move left is his left is a further move than his right to here. It contorts the body. You know, you learn that after you get out there.
But that also goes back to episode number 2, right? Now that you got the firearm home, right? The dry fire practice, you implement a lot of that in your dry fire.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. We can start with sight alignment. So I think for those that don't know, sight alignment is aligning the rear sights with the front sights. So that most of them have 3 dots, or some of them, like Glock, has a field goal or goal post. with a front dot or sight.
This is
there.
this is an air gun.
Yeah, air sight. Well, it's a trainer.
Trainer,
It's a CZ trainer.
So when he say front sight, rear sight, back here we have the rear sight.
Yep.
Right. So
Oh, here, I'll get you on camera 3. Pow, look at that.
So you have the rear sight right here. You have in this particular instance, you have a U-notch, right? You have the front sight, right? This is a fiber optic thin post front sight. So what you want to do is you want to align this front sight directly in the middle of the rear sight. So this is exactly what he's talking about.
All right. So you're looking for front sight, rear sight. I normally do it like this. There we go on the camera. Okay. So you're looking for, there should be a little bit of space on each side. Some of the sights, the front sights are thicker.
We call it even height, even light.
Right. Even height, even light. Right. You see 2 stripes of light on each side. And then you're trying to align those dots all the way across in a straight plane. Some, just for edification, some pistols are designed for the dots to go and smother the target or what you're looking at, and some of them are designed where the top half you cut it off.
So,
in
the industry we call that either 12 o'clock,
Yep.
Point to aim, point to impact, or lollipop.
Lollipop, yep.
All right.
So, and that's just the target above it,
Right.
You're just sitting on top of
That's
it,
right.
or you're just dead on it and you're smothering the sight.
Correct.
Okay, and you'll have to find that out because each weapon is different.
Correct.
Right, because I think the Glocks are the smother.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm always
and
any firearm.
SIGs are lollipop.
Correct.
Right.
Any firearm for me, any firearm I do, I'm point to aim, point to impact until the first couple shots, and I can see where. Right. But that's experience. But yes.
Right. And real quick, we can get into target focus versus sight focus, front sight focus, because we're on the sights right now. So target focus is whatever you're looking at. Basically, let's real quick with pistol, we want to keep both eyes open at a certain distance, under a certain distance. I would think it's probably 15 and under.
Yeah.
At about 25, you need to probably start closing that eye. And that's just to get you to focus on that, because the distance to the target and your non-dominant eye will make it start getting fuzzy, and you try to jump back focus, and that's what makes it get kind of weird for folks that are shooting at 25 or further.
All right. So what I tell people is learn to shoot with both eyes open. You're 100% correct. But you're not gonna in a self-defense scenario. You're not gonna be running around with one eye open and one eye closed. So you might as well get used to shooting with both eyes open. It's difficult at first, but you got to do it.
Okay. Let's see. So that's side alignment. You can do a lot of dry fire practice. I have one of these here. This is a pink Rhino. It's a 45. It's a laser. Let me see if I can get it to pop off where you can kind of see it. There you go. You can kind of see it popping. This works great. Make sure your firearm is unloaded, no ammo is in the same room. But that works great for dry fire, and that can help you with your sight alignment. Picking the smallest target, like a light switch, a doorknob, something out there. Nobody, don't let anybody
in the
cross your
realm of
muzzle.
dry firing. It's probably been more light switches killed than anybody, because you know we all aimed at a light switch.
Light switch, outlet.
Yeah, carry on.
Outlet, light switch, and stuff like that. So, getting that practice in for sight alignment. Okay, target distance, right? Which we talk about it all the time, because remember we said I think it was episode 2 where you got pistol guys shooting at 25 and rifle guys shooting at 10, and it needs to be swapped around. For new shooters, here's my quick fucking bullshit on it, I guess you call
Why
it.
don't you get close on that one, bro? Maybe they need to hear that, bro.
Start with the target at like 3 yards.
Yeah.
And it seems like, man, it's way too close, but man, fucking trust me.
No. While you there, the men, they too fancy for 3 yards, bro. They got to be at 25 yards.
Fucking you. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. Yeah, I'm in the mic on you guys. At 25 yards, if you have an issue and that guy's not actively shooting at you, you're going to prison. I guarantee it. I've done a lot of case study. I've done a lot of courtroom sitting in and stuff, and on cases and stuff. You're going to go to prison. Because 25 yards, nobody can throw a knife efficiently enough at you, or a stick or something like that. Or 25 yards, somebody in a car trying to run you over, whatever. You got enough time to get out.
And what are you learning at 25 yards, right?
Nothing. Because here's what you're doing. You're having to pull the target in every time to see what you did.
So this is for the new shooters and the new shooters only. What are you learning at 25 yards, right? There's no consistency. There's no information. And when I say information, is meaning that when I'm shooting, right? If I'm teaching a class, I'm targeted at 3 yards, 5 yards, right? There's instant information every time that trigger's pulled, right? All right, that shot is going low left, low right, wherever the shot is going. At 25 yards, how can you see that? Now you got to stop, bring the target all the way in, right? You got shots all over the place. Maybe 2 on. Let's say you loaded 5, 2 on, 3 off. You don't know what you did right, what you did wrong. So how do you correct that, right? So what he's saying that for new shooters, start close, right? Build a consistent platform, sight alignment, trigger discipline, and then you go from there.
Yeah, and you'll see us, and we're going to load some more shooting videos and stuff like that. We got a few out there. We appreciate you guys liking and subscribing and ringing that notification bell.
Real quick. Shout out to the UK who's been tapping in on our
Canada.
YouTube. Canada.
Yep. United States.
Europe.
Europe.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And all of the
South
United
America.
States.
We got some
Absolutely.
South America in there.
Absolutely.
So that's
shout out to
cool.
all of you guys. We appreciate you tapping in with us.
Tuning
We new to this. We trying to inform and educate. So just bear with us. We'll get you there.
Okay, so trigger manipulation. Chuck talks about it. That's his thing. You manipulate the trigger without the front sight moving. Manipulating the trigger. This is the number one thing or good piece of advice that I can give any new shooter is learn the trigger and the parts of the pull, right? So you have take up, which is from the trigger at static position.
Slack,
Take up, slack, right? Static position, and when you pull it back, you'll run into what's called the wall.
Correct.
Right? So it'll take a lot less pressure to get to the wall than it will to pull through the wall.
Correct.
So let's understand that, right? So we want to get to the wall. Most new shooters and advanced shooters, novice to advanced, issues with dropping shots, we call it, right? And that's where it nosedive and you have a shot here, and all of a sudden you got one about a foot down. Is that anticipation is because they're pulling through the whole stroke of the trigger,
Yep.
and they're not knowing where the actual wall is, and it surprises them.
Believe it or not, we're in the 1%. I would say, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like 99% of the people don't know this information.
Mm-hmm.
As far as taking the slack out, getting to the wall, pulling the trigger through there, right?
Right. I think 2 is this. The easiest way to accommodate what Chuck's saying about manipulating the trigger and not moving the front sight is to press the trigger through the brake. So most triggers at most, double action revolvers, 9 pounds, right?
11.
11,
9 to 11.
9 to 11. Semi-automatic, most pistols 5, 6 and under.
This is the issue right here. Most people will understand the consistency come from it's a couple things you could do. You have people who squeeze the trigger,
Right.
and that is the squeeze, right?
And most time when you squeeze your whole hand.
Correct.
Right.
So 9 out of 10, either you're gonna hail a gun, the bullet gonna go high, go low. Then you have the anticipation. Those are people who right before the shot go off, everything is perfect. Sight alignment, sight picture, everything is lined up perfect. As soon as that shot goes, you throw it. Then you have the consistent trigger pull pressure, right?
All right.
That is this is what you do. Consistent pressure from the rear. Once you get to the wall, consistent pressure, right?
Okay. Let's jump to camera 3, and I'm showing it in here. So
There you go. So let's
clear,
absolutely.
right? Okay.
So let's go from the trigger slapper, the person who start from the rear and just pull the
slack
trigger.
to the wall looks like this. There's the wall.
That's the wall
Okay?
right there.
This motion from here to here is called slack or take up, right? That's to the wall. Now, once it goes through the wall,
Consistent pressure.
right? Okay, that's the brake.
Consistent pressure.
Okay, so now the trigger is back at the back of it, and now listen
Reset.
to the click,
We call that the reset.
right? Same thing, okay?
Right.
Reset.
And with Glock, it's tactile and audible. So
Yep.
you can hear and feel. The issue is, well, let me get back on that
Okay,
while
go
the
ahead.
trigger's there. The issue we have with new shooters is this, right? So you have the trigger. So you have people who just start from the front to the rear. They squeeze the trigger. Or you have the people who know how to take the slack out, and as soon as the slack is out, they squeeze, right? So either way, when you squeeze, you're going to throw your shot. When you anticipate, you're going to throw your shot. We can go back to the big boy.
Okay.
When you anticipate, you're going to throw your shot. When you squeeze, you're going to throw your shot. If you want to shoot accurately, it's just take the slack out, get to the wall, consistent trigger press. But take a class, train with Chuck, or
No, same dude, better version, Tactical Citizen. We're real big proponents on working the gun with the least amount of movement as possible.
yeah, and none of the fancy shit that a lot of these people on YouTube will have you think that you need to do, right? I watch videos. Listen, I shoot a lot of rounds. I watch videos just like you guys, and some of the videos I watch, I laugh at, right? A lot of this fancy stuff you don't need, guys. I promise you. You just got to learn how to manipulate the trigger while keeping the front sight static. You'll be okay.
What I do is I try to change the terminology in mine. I know Chuck has kind of overviewed or kind of watched my process in training and stuff. I try to change the terminology because, to me, pulling, when somebody says pull the trigger, I think most people who are new, or even most people period, think about pulling, and what happens is, right, when I pull something, tend to use my whole hand to pull. So what happens is that's what makes the shot go down. So when I'm looking and shooting and I pull, that's what makes that shot go down, right? So it's kind of like squeezing. Most people, when they squeeze left to right, when they're squeezing, over squeezing, they'll push the gun to the left or right because they're squeezing so hard. So when they do it, they'll pull it with that trigger.
And that has a lot to do with your finger, over gripping, over squeezing, too much trigger finger, too little trigger finger. So a lot. Look, it's a precise game if you're shooting for precision, right?
Right.
It's a precise game.
Right.
You got to learn how to do it. And it doesn't happen overnight. How many rounds do you have through a semi-automatic pistol to get where you at now? For me, it's been years of shooting.
Years.
So it's not overnight, right?
Thousands.
So if anybody could come in here and say, hey, look, I can make you feel comfortable with a firearm in a certain amount of time, but if anybody could tell you, hey, I can have you shooting an X out every time, they're lying to you. In 2 hours, it's not going to happen.
So, and I want to tell you like this. Chuck's a fucking badass shooter. I proclaim to be pretty fucking good myself.
Oh, yeah.
We have days where we're off, and we shoot almost daily.
Yeah.
Like every 2 days, 3 days, we're shooting for sure. But there are days, I'll tell him, hey, Chuck, boy, I don't know what the fuck's going on today.
Yeah.
I'm just fucking off today. I don't get it.
And there's some days where you can't fucking miss.
And there's some
Even
days.
if you tried to miss, you can't miss.
Yep. I mean, I'm infamous for coming up there and cutting cards and shit like that on the.
It's the
on
card
the
cutter right there.
Right. And I've had days where I can come in and I'll have 5 different pistols and I can pick it up and hit it first shot. All 5 pistols. And there are days that I got 1 pistol there and I can't hit that sumbitch in 20 shots. Right. It's just, you have good days and bad days. It doesn't change even with shooting. So,
but you practice so you can have.
I
more
feel like
good
99%
days.
of the time it's gonna work.
But you practice so you can have more good days than bad days. Right?
That's correct.
Because you never know when you might need this damn firearm. You want to have a good day.
Right.
So this is why we train and we practice.
Okay, we got a couple of minutes we wanted to go into real quick in those FTEs, the failure to feeds,
Failure to extract.
and failure to extracts in the bay. We're still on the range, right?
Yeah, that's where most new shooters get in trouble right there.
Right. Okay. So stovepiping or failure to eject. Right. The difference between failure to eject and extract. Let me get that real quick. Failure to extract means there's an extractor that grabs the rim of the case and pulls it. Right, and the ejection is actually just a stationary piece of metal, really, that the case hits and it ejects it. Right. So mechanically, it should always eject. The only reason it wouldn't eject is A, it's an underpowered load, or B, you're limp wristing it. Right, meaning you're allowing the gun to rock and you're snapping back forward, which adds inertia to the slide,
and you don't have a good grip.
Right.
And that's most of the time that's going to be the issue, especially with new shooters.
It's your grip, right?
Especially most of the time it's with women,
right?
Because they're not gripping the gun as strong, as tight as we would grip it,
right? And I think some of it too is lockout, mechanical lockout with your wrist, right? Because a lot of them are just kind of holding the gun. Where if you would lock out a portion, a joint of something, right, and just lock it in place, it kills half of the stovepiping, I think. But the other half is going to be your grip and how tight it is and how you're holding it and what your dominant versus non-dominant hand. For those that don't know, dominant is the one that's pulling the trigger with the trigger finger, and non-dominant is the support hand, which really does most of the work.
Correct.
Okay. Real fast, I think failure to feed, which basically is the round is not going in there, something's happening. Sometimes here's something to be wary of real quick. Sometimes hollow point, JHPs, you have certain guns that the attitude angle in the magazine
especially
is
the ones that got the polymer tips.
It'll hit the hood.
That happens a lot with 45 ACP.
Right? Yeah, a lot of
with 1911s.
Because you got to check the hollow point, the how big the opening is, because in 1911s the ramp is super steep. Right, some of the striker fires they have a steep ramp too. That hollow point will catch the top hood of the chamber and it won't feed the round. Right.
Listen,
and you have those happening.
New shooters, if you have any of these features, failure to feed, failure to extract, if there's not a range safety officer, put the firearm down, keep it pointed down range, come out to the front. You get one of the people behind the counter, and we can help you. Do not bring the firearm in that condition with a magazine in it upstairs or upstairs to the sales floor. It happens a lot. and most of the time you're gonna get a bad reaction.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of times as a new shooter, you feel like, damn, they screaming at me. But you got to understand, you just came upstairs with an unsafe firearm in a condition that can possibly go off at any moment. So at all times, you keep the firearm pointed down range, leave it there. If there's not a range safety officer, RSO, you come up, or wherever, it's upstairs, outdoors, wherever you go, you come to the counter and you get a qualified person to help you.
Awesome. Range terminology to know. I kind of wrote down some range terminology that you would possibly hear on different ranges. I think it'll be beneficial and help and check. Let's see what I got here.
Range is cold.
Yep, range is cold. What does that mean, Chuck?
Range is cold means that we have some kind of circumstance going on. We need to figure out what the hell is going on. Everybody put their firearm down, drop the magazine, make sure it's not around in the chamber, breech side up, and step away from the bay. Meaning that, all right, clear, right?
Clear.
Range is cold, so we consider this is downrange, right? The command is called range is cold. I want to drop the magazine. Let's put the magazine in there. I want to drop the magazine. Make sure no round is in the chamber.
Leave it.
Slide lock back to the rear.
Lock back to the rear.
Breech side up so the range safety officer can look in there because we don't want to touch the gun at this point. Make sure the breech side is up. There's no round in the chamber. Pointed down range, and we want to back away from the range. When we call cold range, this is what we want you to do.
Generally, cold range is normally called when something downrange is affected, like a
Correct.
carrier,
Correct.
or which is the mechanism that runs the targets out.
Or it could be a
firearm.
Or it could be an accident. Somebody potentially shot themselves or something happened.
Right.
Anything can happen when we call cold range. That means you are to drop that firearm and back away from the range. Because even if somebody got to go down the range to correct the issue, a target fell, a hanger fell. If one of the colleagues got to go down there, we don't want you standing by the range. We don't want a round in the chamber where it could potentially go off that you don't know was a squib load in there. So we just want the firearm clear and safe and pointed down range.
Exactly. Clear, which he said that clear the firearm means range is physically clear of any potential safety issues and no one is down range, right? So range is clear, right? Cold range.
Cold range.
And then range is clear, okay? So that means after, we use it in long range, right? Because one of us, or me and Chuck, or Chuck would go down to replace targets.
Correct.
So range is cold is the call. Everybody comes off. When we're long range, bolt action comes open. Everybody sees everybody's bolt is 60 to 90 degrees, whatever you got to throw, and it's back and open. Nobody is at the base. Everybody backs up, and then we take targets down. Right, soon as we return back.
Range is hot.
Range is hot, okay? Well, range is clear because we're out of there, and then range is hot once we're clear. Or some people like us, we just cut it, range is hot,
yeah,
right? Because the person who goes and does it is the one who calls range is hot, generally.
Correct.
Right? Because they're the one that went and turned the target, they're back, their voice is known and recognizable.
And when we say range is cold, I don't mean you did everything right now, right? The magazine is out, the slide lock back to the rear, and you're standing in your bay. No, you back up to the nearest wall. You get out the bay, right? We don't, because at that moment, if somebody's downrange, if you stand in the bay, anybody could just grab a firearm, grab a magazine, load it, and start firing, right? We doing this for maximum safety. So that means you out after your firearm is clear, back out the bay.
I just wanted to put some cool shit up real quick.
I was about to say, what the hell? What we got going on, yeah?
Oh no, it's just practice and stuff. We talked about dry fire last one, and this is the Manus Blackbeard system in the AR, which has the laser tube, right? Which is a dry fire practice for rifles, just like we had done the Pink Rhino for the pistols.
Can I show them this cool shit?
Yeah. So also, what we also do is during firearm instruction, some ladies for the most part, aren't too keen to the sound of rounds going off around them. So what we have here is a recoil activated laser firearm for dry fire training, right? It's specifically designed to get young kids, females, males, to get used to the recoil of the gun. So Chuck will demonstrate that it actually has recoil and...
Can we get a second to... I'm not the reload on me, bro. Like, y'all, you wouldn't want to fuck with me when it comes to this reload shit.
right? So you see that it's recoil activated, so you can get used to the trigger pull. It actually has a great trigger pull.
Phenomenal.
Right for the gun. It's a full-on replica of a CZ Shadow 2, but it has an IR laser that we use dry fire and laser training. Laser ammo. I normally run that for families and come to the home when doing mobile instruction for those who aren't ready for the range yet. There are some people who aren't ready for the range yet.
That's a fact.
Right? So this is a great tool to help them. It's got short throw cameras that go into a projector, and it's actually interactive with the pistol and the laser. Downrange, right? You heard Chuck say earlier, downrange. Downrange is just the end of the backstop where the material is that stops the bullets, okay? Real quick, while we're talking downrange, there are certain types of ammunition that you can't bring to most ranges or almost all ranges, which is buckshot, birdshot, green tip 5.56 ammunition, and certain calibers above.
Well, you skip right over the most important one. Incendiary rounds.
Oh yeah, that too. Tracer rounds, incendiary rounds,
dragon breath.
Dragon breath rounds. So here's what happens: most backstops at ranges are made out of like cut up recycled rubber, tire, different things like that, and they melt and they get hot. And once tires get burning, they're hard to fucking put.
First of all, you shouldn't be shooting a fucking incendiary round in the indoor range. Period. Oh shit, outdoor ranges burn down as well, but you damn sure shouldn't be shooting it at a 25-yard because most ranges indoors 25 yards.
Right.
You shouldn't be shooting an incendiary round in a 25-yard range. You're a fucking idiot if you're doing so.
Yep. So down range is always down range. Okay, away from you. They don't really have anything called up range or anything like that. No. It's just down range is down away from you. The firing lane, okay? So just like Chuck alluded to earlier, you don't want to be in Bay 3 shooting at targets in Bay 2. Bay 3, your firing lane is an infinity lane from the walls on each side all the way down to the backstop downrange. Right?
Which is typically 25 yards.
Which is typically 25 yards. There are some ranges that are 50 and 100. You can find them out there, or you're outdoors, okay? So firing lane is the bay walls straight out in front of you, lane, okay? Just like you're driving in a car. Don't make it fucking...
What's that saying? They be saying, stay in your lane? No.
Stay in your lane?
Stay in your lane?
Yeah.
From Wildin' Out. Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. Yeah, right. So make sure you're staying in your lane and shooting. If you shoot a paper target... Here, let me get in close. If you shoot a paper target... and you hear a ding,
Jesus,
you missed the paper target and you hit some metal, most likely the carrier or the ceiling, right?
Well, potentially could ricochet.
Right. So, and that's what we're getting to is ricochets, right? So let me get on a close up on Chuck. How do you feel about ricochets, Chuck?
You can get a bang out of life with a ricochet.
So ricochets are not good. Okay, that's why they don't let you draw out a holster in most ranges, because there's concrete floor below you, and that bullet will ricochet off that concrete, or a piece of concrete fly out and hurt somebody and cut them too. So from it, but most of the time the bullet's going to ricochet off that concrete. So firing lane is basically straight down there, parallel lines, straight down ahead of you, which way you're looking. The firing line, Chuck, would you explain what the firing line is?
At the bay?
Yep.
All right. The firing line is at the bay where you load your firearm, where you put your firearm down, make sure everything is loaded, magazine out, firearm pointing down range.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
So everybody, you won't find bays that are staggered or anything like that. Everybody be in a straight line across from each other, and that way nobody's at a different advantage or could potentially.
You fucking threw me for a loop just now. I was thinking about some other shit when you asked me that, so that's why
I know.
Carry on.
That's why we got each other back, man. You find that out real quick. You already explained it. Hot range.
Yeah.
Right. Hot range means there's fucking lead coming down the goddamn range.
Yeah.
Okay.
People shooting.
You don't want to get in front of that.
Yeah.
All right. Period. Hot range means there's hot shit coming down the range.
Meaning that if you're on lane number 4, you push your target out, your target fell, or you go to the range safety officer, or you call code range. Code range means that your target fell. Now everybody's aware that range is cold, and you go to everybody individually and let them know range is cold. Range is cold. Nobody should be at the bay at this moment. So now the RSO, normally it's an RSO that's going to go down and get the target. It's not going to be the individual who's shooting that bay number 4.
Yeah, not at all.
Normally it's going to be the RSO or one of the employees. So, but it's on you to make sure you understand range is cold. Everybody understand this, because we got to remember now, under people shooting now, right?
Yeah.
So you might be in lane number 1, lane number 11, you might say range is cold. Lane, he didn't hear you.
I think that brings up the importance of what we said earlier, the electronic ear pro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bro, fucking listen. If you're going to spend money, I'm going to tell you, the way we come up is 3 things. It's trigger, bolt carrier, and barrel. Those are it for rifles, and then it's going to be trigger, barrel, and sight for the pistols. But when it comes to actually being on the range, is you really understanding that this shit is serious.
And this is why we don't allow you to be listening to fucking Jay-Z, shout out to my favorite rapper,
Right.
while you shooting, because you might not hear a command.
Right. So this shit is serious enough that I think you want to hear
Correct.
what's going on. With the passive, you can't. It's kind of muffled. You can hear some, but if it's not close, it's muffled to you. So with the electric, if somebody's talking some dumb shit 3 bays away, you can hear it with
Correct.
the electric.
Absolutely.
And you're able to immediately say, hey, that's wrong, don't do that, or
Right.
hey, go get the RSO.
It's almost like giving you superhuman superhuman
Power.
strength,
Yeah.
because you can hear far away with those
Yeah.
electronics.
Yeah, so the difference in money is like $30 for passive, but maybe $79, $80, $100 for the
You know
electric.
my favorite line, what is your life worth?
Yeah, what is your life worth? An extra $60, I think it's worth hearing and being able to understand.
Cool.
Let's go.
So I watch a lot of YouTubers say, hey, I don't like carrying staccatos, or I don't like carrying certain guns because they're worth a little bit, right? So let's just say you got a staccato XL that's worth $3,700.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to carry it because I wouldn't want to lose it in evidence locker if I had to use it. That might be the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life.
Mm-hmm.
My preference. If I want every advantage, if I need my firearm at that moment, I need every advantage that I could possibly have. I'd rather have my life than lose $3,700 every time. You could take the fucking firearm. I could buy another Staccato XL. I can't buy another life. So we got to be practical about a lot of this shit, right? So when we say Air Pro and you say how much is Air Pro and we say $54, look, it's going to help you, right? If we say, hey, these glasses are better for you, it's going to help you, right? I'm not trying to sell you something for the sake of being a salesman. I'm trying to help you. And this is what the podcast is about. We're trying to educate people, right? So this is why we feel so adamant about this shit. Thank
All
you.
right. You got it. No problem. I think one last thing, we got a little bit of time, is maintenance to your gun in the bay. Cleaning the, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
kind of in the bay.
No. That's a no-no.
That's a no-no, right?
You're not going to come here with a cleaning kit because you got to understand a lot of this shit is combustible.
Right.
Flammable.
Right.
And you got people firing. You're not in the bay by yourself, right?
Right.
You're not in a range by yourself. You have people in different lanes, right? So cleaning them, if you brushing or wiping down, that's one thing, right? But cleaning, I'm talking about breaking out a CLP and no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You do that when you get home.
Yep. Or if you have an issue, I think too is an important thing to do or to bring up is if there is an issue of your gun misfiring or not firing around or whatever like that, don't keep pulling the trigger and racking it. Rack it a few times. If it won't eject and you see the case is in there, the casing is in there, put it down. Get the range safety officer, right? Because they'll know how to make sure it's in slide lock, drop the magazine, and have some type of something that can pop the bullet back out of there. Right?
Correct.
But I think that comes up to knowing the difference between, I think, a bullet and the parts and components.
Yeah,
of the
absolutely.
bullet, right.
But
So if somebody comes to Chuck and says, "Hey, there's something going on. The bullet is stuck in the chamber or stuck in the gun," right? When you say bullet, he assumes it's a live round immediately. And that it is. Now, if you know the determination of casing, meaning the bullet fired.
But I'm still going to ask a lot of questions. So
Right.
if you come to me and say, hey, something wrong with my gun, I pulled the trigger, nothing happened, yada, yada, I'm still going to ask, did the projectile, like I'm going to ask, did the explosion happen before I get downstairs so I know what I'm facing anyway, right? The smart ones will do that, right? But, yeah, you have to know what the hell is going on.
Because you have light primer strikes, you have things that happen where it won't let the projectile leave the casing.
Square blows, which is the worst.
Yeah, which is the worst because you don't know if they'll go off or not. So it's real important to know that. And I think real quick, because we got a few seconds here before we get to our freestyling, is there's the projectile, which is the actual, the lead and copper jacketed bullet. Well, the bullet is it's all one piece. Explaining the components. You have the powder, the primer, the case, and the projectile are the four components of the bullet. And to know that and know the terminology of the casing versus the powder versus all that stuff there helps tremendously with your RSO or whoever's coming to help.
Absolutely.
Right?
Got to be aware.
All right.
The more information you can give us, the better we can. The easier it is for us to circumvent the issue, right? If you just come downstairs and say my gun not working, I don't know what the hell is going on, right? And now I'm stuck trying to figure out what some things. If you say, hey, I pulled the trigger, I heard a bang, but nothing happened, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's possibly it's a squib blow. So the more information you can give me, the easier I can make resolving this issue is.
Okay.
So to speak.
Well, I think it's our freestyle. We're at our 15 minutes of freestyle.
Oh,
so
shit, let's rock, bro.
We're chilling and like a villain. I had mentioned earlier the dry fire practice and stuff with the lasers and everything like that. Those are a tremendous help. The recoil activated guns, I think it's like $500 or whatever, but it's a tremendous help. I think it's money well worth spending. To be able to practice. They do sell them in Glocks, SIGs, CZs, and different various manufacturers, replicas, that you can, if you have a Glock, you can practice with your actual platform, which I think is very, very good for new shooters for sure. But there's a caveat to that because I don't want you to get the guns confused. Right, and be picking up the live gun versus the practice gun. I think they do a good job. It's because they have a red metal tip on the front of them. That shows you that it is not a actual round and the barrel is blue, so you can identify that by visual. But the pink Rhino laser rounds, the same things. Unfortunately, they make these in a brass color. They look
new. I mean, look like actual
live rounds and stuff like that. But you have to know what you're looking at to know that it doesn't have the bullet on the end of it or the projectile in the end, and it doesn't have the traditional primer, it being in black.
I mean, honestly, a lot of this stuff is what we speaking now is a little advanced for the new shooter, right? The premise of this is to help the new shooter circumvent a lot of the issues that you guys may be having when you come into a gun shop, feeling uncomfortable. I was once there. I'm sure you probably was there once upon a time. Yeah. So we just trying to help you get around those little issues, right? The dry fire practice, the things he's showing you right now is important. That's if you want to take shooting to the next level, right? Because you got the reason why I say that is because everything is not for everybody, right? You might have the casual shooter who might. I go to the range twice a year. This ain't important to me, right? But you might have somebody who want to take this serious, right? And for the people who want to take this serious, this is exactly what he's explaining to you right now.
Yeah. So, and I think for me, right? I think if you're only practicing a couple times a year, I feel like you're not adept at being able to everyday carry and use it in an offensive way.
But you got to remember now, we thinking about down south. What about up north where they don't have access to this?
Okay.
Right? Well, so we got to think.
Well, think about it like this. Okay. Non-lethal forms of self-defense, right? That go along with it. I think, up north, there are things, especially for like felons and stuff, right?
Well, not just felons, for regular civilians. Like when you say up north, like I'll give you an example. New York City, right, where I'm from, right? Mm-hmm. You can't even have a fucking pocket knife.
What do they say about like the airsoft and like?
No, airsoft. You trying to get killed?
Well, no. I'm just saying as far as.
But what do you? All right. So here where I go back. Let's just say we talking about airsoft. What are you practicing if you can't have an actual firearm? So this is why most people don't concern themselves.
Well, what do they do about like the burners and stuff like that are like the pepper ball guns and stuff like that?
We don't have none of that, brother.
Oh, you can't get none of it.
No, we don't have none of that. Listen, I've been in Georgia for 10 years. Right. I'm not going to date myself, but in my life in New York City, I've never even seen a gun range. I've never seen a gun range.
Yeah.
Right. So that means there's no access for me to go train, practice, or anything. So this is why I say it's broader than like some people. They don't. What we training for? Yeah. And what we got to vote. Listen, all right. Some of these laws got to change. That's a whole nother topic, and I'm willing to discuss this, right? But some of these laws got to change. There's no reason why we can exercise our Second Amendment down here in the South, and you guys are not able to exercise your Second Amendment in the North, which is blasphemy because.
There's more crime.
And not only that is the people are so. I'll save that for another topic. Carry on, bro. I'm sorry.
Well, no, we're just freestyling. So like right now, we just
all right. So you got these people who say, all right, they want to change laws of the 2A, right? Mm-hmm. Right. They should be able to have this, but they shouldn't be able to have that, right?
Right.
And why these states can have it and why these states can't have it. Well, let's just say that's an attack on the Second Amendment, right?
Right.
So let's say we attack the First Amendment, which everybody loves the First Amendment, right? I should be able to say what the hell I want, right? So let's just say if I say, all right, in your First Amendment, you can say these words, you just can't say these words right here. How would you feel?
Well, I mean, I
Right.
think
So that is the same way we feel when you're attacking our Second Amendment.
Right.
You can have this, but you can't have if it's an amendment. It's an amendment.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So let's just say you can say fuck, shit, bitch, but you can't say dick, eat, at, whatever the case may be.
Right, yeah.
We taking that away from you. The First Amendment lovers.
Yeah,
This
they
my
gonna
first.
nut up. Yeah, they
There
gonna
you
nut
go.
up. Yeah,
There you go. And that's how
well,
I
they
feel.
always say that the Second Amendment was designed to enforce the First, right? Or protect the First,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And then the third and fourth, fifth and sixth is always protecting that second,
Correct.
right? Lawyers and all.
Listen,
that
I
stuff.
love my amendments, but the only one that matters to me is the second.
Yeah, it's the second, right? And
The
I think here's the thing too, because like you said earlier, some people aren't meant to have a firearm. And I don't mean that as far as Northerners, and I mean that just as far as personality traits and other like that. I think even down here in the South and in other states that there are people that let their egos and pride take a situation further than it needs to go.
Huh?
It's a sad situation. I think it kind of, you're bound by your hands. I think, like, my dad used to say, hey, there wasn't as many fights back in the 60s in school like it was when you was growing up, or, 80s, 90s and stuff like that. And I said, well, shit, back in the day, I think, hell, y'all used to take karate in one of your classes. Yeah. So you got a school full of folks who got a karate class. You don't know how advanced one of these motherfuckers is, so it makes you timid in trying to pick out an opponent.
Yeah.
Whereas you feel like, oh, can't nobody beat me and this and that. Hell, that motherfucker might be a black belt.
Can I get the number 3, bro?
Yeah, go ahead, buddy. 3.
All right. Fuck it, I'm going to say it. Look, African Americans, I know for the longest we've been voting Democrat. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for, how to vote for, but we need to hold some of these people accountable for our votes, right? We can't no longer just give them our votes because our parents and our grandparents voted for these people, right? And Democrats, y'all need to step y'all shit up. I'm just being honest with you. The time has passed to say, hey, you black, vote for us, it's gone, right? It's a crying shame why I'm able to carry a gun in the South while my counterparts in New York, New Jersey, New Jersey people are able to carry a firearm. Well, my counterparts in New York, where I'm from, I'm speaking for my people. And I'm not talking about the city of New York, right? I'm not talking about upstate, and I'm not talking about Long Island. I'm talking about the 5 boroughs. That is Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, and what the hell up? I missed one of my boroughs. The Bronx. The Bronx, right? There's no reason why we're not able to carry firearms, right? This is a direct violation of your Second Amendment, and it's time for us. I know you're going to have some guys, and especially in the black community, we was raised that, hey, firearms is taboo. You got to wake up. You have to wake up. This is not the time where our grandparents and the elders, you have to wake up, right? Make these people earn your fucking vote.
So there's a old saying that says to have and not need is better than to need and not have.
Correct.
Okay. And Sun Tzu, Art of War. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. Right. Okay. That premise on its own should let you know that self-preservation, right, or self-defense in that situation.
You got to be your own first line of defense.
Right.
You got to be your own first line of defense, people.
And I would say, I mean, my only path that sucks, you guys up in New York.
And not just New York. We're talking about other states as well. Yeah. That's not a
hand-to-hand
I'm
combat.
speaking New York specifically because that's where I'm from.
Yeah, hand-to-hand combat because, or something like that. I don't know what to offer because I've never been in that situation, right? But you would say hand-to-hand combat, but if a criminal's got a gun, what good is some karate lessons going to do against a bullet?
Correct.
Okay, you're risking yourself by carrying a pocket knife or going to jail if the police stop you or whatever.
That'd be a good insert when Showing Up said, catching bullets with his teeth. N-word, please. Right? Good insert, all right.
Right. So, and I think it's a travesty that somebody can't choose to defend himself even with a knife. I'm an edged weapons guy. I know this is a gun podcast, but I love edged weapons. I have fucking 50, 60 different blades, knives, swords, all that stuff there. I was into that stuff as martial arts. But so at the end of the day,
we voting for politicians who walk around with armed security, right? Listen to what I'm telling you. We voting for politicians that walk around with armed security. So in essence, pretty much saying their life is more valuable than your life for the life of your loved ones, right? So why are you able to be surrounded by armed security, but we can't protect ourselves?
because you're a peasant. Right?
With
That's
bullshit.
what they look at it as.
Bullshit.
That's what they look at it as, a peasant. I used to say that all the time back in the day when I was young. Because, you get that arrogance from people who are affluent or have money.
Yeah.
Right? Generally, right?
Yeah.
And that used to be my line. Big dog, don't let your wallet get your ass whipped.
That's a fact.
You can't stand on top of that motherfucker tall enough to not take one of these in your fucking face. I don't give a fuck who you know, what money you got, it's over with.
Is this where we become the ignorant? This is what the
Yeah,
ignorant.
yeah, that's the ignorant part.
That's
the ignorant part, because the whole thing is they big and ignorant. I'm not ignorant until somebody ignorant with me, right? Because ignorance begets ignorance. Okay, you want to fool around? I'm gonna fool around,
Okay.
right? But at the end of the day, I think that we get back to up north. It's hard for me to give you advice on what to do, because the criminals are always gonna have access to. A criminal's gonna toe the blade with them.
Criminal always got the advantage,
right? Because they're not obeying the law.
and
right?
if you want to defend your life, your loved ones, and your liberty, you almost have to become a criminal as well. Which is the sad part about it, because that's how a lot of us get jammed up in the system, right? We trying to do the right thing. We trying to protect, right? It's the prey and the predator, right? We trying to protect, and we get jammed up in the system because we trying to do the right thing, and meanwhile, we getting screwed over.
Yeah.
So, again, make them earn your vote. You cannot just walk around and say, I'm voting for people just because your parents voted for them.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing I notice on both sides of the aisle, right? Whether you're Republican or Democrat.
Fuck them both. Fuck them both.
I'm a libertarian myself.
Yeah,
right?
fuck them
I'm
both.
just about this liberty, limited government, get the fuck out of my face.
There you go.
Right? And then keep it rolling, make sure everything, the economy don't crash. Cool. Right? But I think because people have developed party lines and wanted to vote down party lines, I think they don't never, like you said, make sure of who you voting for. I see people, when we get into these debates politically and shit like that, Republican versus Democrat, because most people assume I'm a Republican because of my gun stance. But it's a bunch of libertarians out here that have the same gun stance, and there's a bunch of Democrats that have the same gun stance too. Their just voice isn't as loud. But it comes back to, hey, do you check behind the guy you just voted for to see if he actually voted the way that you thought
Correct.
he was going to vote?
Correct.
So, it's called C-SPAN, for those that don't know. And it will list all the yays and nays. And you can go publicly on, I think, congress.gov or something like that, and look at the voting of each one of the senators or congressmen, right? House of Representatives, right? And that way you can say, hey, I voted for that Democrat or that Republican, and in the last 4 years, that son of a bitch, all these votes, all this important shit that I thought, he ain't voted nowhere near what the fuck I wanted him to vote for. So why am I going to fuck around and vote for this fucker again? But you do it because you become complacent.
Yeah,
because it's not affecting you like that in your everyday life. You don't see it.
Look, for the most part, we do it because fucking black vote Democrat, white vote Republican. And so in our head, we have to vote Democrat.
Right.
We got to stop that shit. And I'm not telling you to go vote Republican or Democrat. I'm not saying you vote who the fuck you want to vote for.
Vote for the right person.
Do your homework, do your research, and make sure that with their agenda align with your agenda. And if you feel comfortable with that at the end of the night, there you go.
Well, I always used to tell people, hey, why you don't vote for your pastor? Well, he wasn't on the ballot. You can write in who you want, right? So if you're conscious, if you say, well, I hate when somebody say, I just chose the lesser evil. You don't have to choose either of them fucking evils. You don't have to vote. If there's a president here that you don't like, and this one here is doing some shit that you don't like, oh, well, I'll just take this guy because he ain't done as much bad shit. Neither one of them are good goddamn candidates. Don't vote. Put Willie B. You remember when motherfuckers were putting Willie B, the goddamn ape from the Atlanta Zoo? Right near Willie B, that nigga had like 50,000 votes. You know what I'm saying? Like, right Willie B.
I am Chuck, one half of the ignorant nerd. I'm Chuck, one half of the ignorant nerd.
And I'm Cowboy, the other half of the ignorant nerd.
I'll go fuck off.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Either you like it or you don't, man. We appreciate you tuning in.
Take it easy.
And if she's easy, take her twice.